Time when Bihar has adopted the Gujarat model imposing a prohibition on alcohol across the state, its neighbour West Bengal has gone the opposite way. The Mamata Banerjee government has reduced the number of dry days in the state and in fact allowed bars at clubs and three-star hotels and above to pop the bubbly every single day of the year. So is the neighbouring state of Bihar planning to take a cue from West Bengal? Joining us now on the phone line is a very close aide of the Bihar Chief Minister and Rajya Sabha MP, Pawan Kumar Verma. Mr. Verma, thank you very much for your time, sir. Appreciate it. Good evening. The contrasts between what's happening in Bengal and Bihar can't be, as stark as they are. How do you react to what's happening there, sir, with regards to the liquor policy?
No, my view is that every state decides its own policy. And if West Bengal feels that by relaxing the laws on the availability of alcohol is in its interest, that's a decision that the West Bengal government has taken. We have a clear view in Bihar on what is, in our view, is instrument of social change, and we believe has been asked for by the constituents of Bihar. During the elections in Bihar, the one demand that had the largest resonance was a demand by the people of Bihar, and especially the women of Bihar, that they would like a policy of prohibition, and any democratically elected government, especially if it has a backing in the Constitution as well in Supreme Court judgments, and if there are precedents for this attempt in the past, will make the attempt to fulfill what has been the demand of the people. And I'm sure in West Bengal also, if there is a well-articulated, felt, verifiable demand by the people in any democracy, the government will act accordingly. If it has not felt this demand, it's for the West Bengal government to decide.
Mr. Pawan Kumar Verma, your point is well taken that it's the right of a state government to impose a ban on liquor, for instance. But in the context of what West Bengal has done, don't you feel, sir, at least there is perhaps a need to review some of the alleged draconian provisions in the law, which also includes how family members can be arrested if somebody within the family is consuming alcohol? Sir, as a rational person, don't you feel somewhere that that the provisions that you made part of this is perhaps far too extreme?
Well, Mr. Nitish Kumar has said himself that the end purpose of the laws on prohibition is not to penalize innocent people, and he said that they will not be arrested merely because somebody else consumes alcohol. There will be blood tests, etc., to show whether they have been they have alcohol in their bloodstream. But the point is very simple. If you are advocating a policy of prohibition, there is no point falling flat between two stools, where you make the effort but reduce it to tokenism without implementing it effectively if you are responding to what the people of the state want. So therefore, some of these measures, but this is the responsive and responsible government. And if the feedback is that some of the laws need to be reviewed, they will be. But at the moment, they have to get the nod of the governor. And after they become law, they will be implemented as best as possible in order to ensure that the policy that is announced is actually implemented on the ground and try and cover up any its implementation.
So in a way, you're kind of tacitly admitting that you could give this a relook in terms of how this is implemented, right, Mr. Verma? Not prohibition itself.
Not saying that. I'm saying that once a law has to come into force.
I know, absolutely. But, your point about there's no point not being able to implement it fully, by that same token, the intention of the government, as you said, is clear. It's not to penalize people, but the implementation will depend on the way the law is written. And
because the law, so far the implementation of the law has shown in its own way requisite flexibility. For instance, in the case of toddy, or toddy as it is called, because the livelihood of the community depended on it, the government has given time, and ultimately it's come up with an alternative scheme by which their livelihood is not taken away. In other words, the fresh toddy, which has not yet been fermented, will be packed in tetra packs and sold in the Nira, which will provide the livelihood. Similarly, those who had bars have been given other means of making the same income through becoming outlets of other products. So the attempt is not to penalize people. The attempt is to answer a felt need which was expressed almost unanimously by the people. Throughout the Bihar election, then I was present there. Because ultimately, you may feel that of certain freedoms, but also there are other freedoms, like freedom against domestic abuse, freedom for children to get a proper nutrition, freedom for people to have a choice between wasting whatever they earn on liquor or plowing it back into a product in a productive way, both for the good of the family and for the economy as a whole.
Right.
There are choices, and we are not the first state. There is prohibition in Nagaland, there is prohibition in Mizoram, and in Gujarat we've had prohibition from the very beginning.
Mr. Pawan Kumar Verma, thank you very much for joining us on India Business Hour. The contrast between West Bengal and Bihar couldn't have been possibly more stark.